Work, TwinCities.com, $1 flash sale taking place right now. Good morning, and thanks for helping. How are you?
Good morning. We appreciate that plug over at the Pioneer Press.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's same old TwinCities.com terrorism. Like, I signed up last year, then it ended, so I'm like, I'm going to read this column, this Teasley, and what you're looking for outside of the quarterbacks. And like, oh, here we are, first paragraph, meh. Then I'm like, flash sale, in. So it's $1 for a year, TwinCities.com, because Dane does really good work. What stuck out to you day one of Vikings minicamp yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I think the natural place to start is the quarterback competition.
Yeah. I think big time.
That's going to be kind of the talking point until they make that decision. I think coming out of it, obviously a lot was made about the 2 interceptions that Kyler Murray threw on back-to-back plays. I thought in a vacuum, J.J. McCarthy had a better day yesterday. I thought he looked more impressive than Kyler, but that's not taking away from what Kyler has continued to show throughout the spring. But I think when you kind of zoom out, talking today about yesterday, you really start to home in on what Kyler Murray said at the podium. That's key. That splitting reps is in some ways diametrically opposed to learning the offense. And I think a lot is going to be made about that comment, just like a lot was made of J.J. McCarthy's comments last week. That is the nature of the beast in the social media world we live in. But if we just dig into what Kyler Murray said, I think functionally it makes sense. This is a complex offense that he is, I think, struggling to learn while splitting reps with somebody else. I think that was honest. I think that was raw. And I think he was frustrated yesterday. But I think all of that also goes into the fact of, if you listen to the entire comments that Kyler Murray said and not just what was clipped on social media, he also did say, I'm leaning into being uncomfortable. And I think that's good for him, too. I think with what he has done to this point in his career, being uncomfortable could be helpful to him growing as a quarterback.
My man, thank you for sharing that. I had to leave camp a little early yesterday due to some heat-related stuff. So I wanted to see Flores and McCarthy and Kyler and everything, and I fell into Lemmy Nation, where I just saw the clip and have not watched everything that Kyler had to say. What Dane was referencing, to be exact, was, quote, Kyler Murray, quote, having to split reps, me already being behind, not getting the amount of reps you would typically want a guy to get learning the offense, that's probably the toughest part, end quote. I mean, I think, and I had multiple conversations during those interceptions yesterday, one of them with one of your cohorts, where both of them had some, it's minicamp to them. And to which my response was, I understand, and I also understand he's new, but it's supposed to be easy now. This, I'm not saying pitch and catch, but this is, and take away the interceptions. You saw it, man. I mean, you watch it with a trained eye. How many passes were slightly behind or slightly ahead, and Jefferson had to reach his arms out, or Dylan Bell with it's behind him? And, that is a product, no doubt, of trying to figure this thing out, but the reps are going to be cut. And I'm having a tough time when he's like, I'm used to getting all the reps and that leads to this. Okay, now I hadn't seen or heard the part where you're like, where he said, I'm leaning into this struggle here and I'll be better for it. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But really, forget the deal, a year and $1 million and change. With respect to Kyler Murray, he hasn't done enough in his career to roll in like Brett Favre on Wildfire coming over Yellow Mountain out of nowhere to be like, this is my money, everybody get off to the side, right?
No doubt. He signed here to be a part of a quarterback competition. He knew what he was signing up for in a vacuum.
And, and I'm sorry to clip, but clipping penalty, but Twitter's loud with people who aren't at the practices, don't have access to the coach or people for, as we would say, background, being like, Kevin O'Connell's lying. People are lying that there's a quarterback competition. I believe there is one. I mean, it may be a 70-30, a 60-40. Don't you believe there legitimately is a competition here?
I think there is a legitimate competition. I've said from the beginning, I think Kyler is probably just ahead. I think he probably signed here with a head start, given He started almost 90 games in the NFL, given J.J. McCarthy's struggles at times last year, given J.J. McCarthy's inability to stay on the field. I think Kyler Murray probably started the quarterback competition a little bit with a head start over J.J. McCarthy. But yeah, I think until told otherwise, we have to take them at face value. This is a quarterback competition. That has been the messaging from the jump, not just from Kevin O'Connell, from when you hear it in clips with Justin Jefferson. You hear it in clips with Brian O'Neill. Like, these guys believe, and I think the team as a whole believes there's a quarterback competition. But going off of that, like, Kyler now has to lean into that. I think yesterday was probably a moment of honesty in a tough moment, probably lamenting some of the decisions he made in practice and trying to apply it in real time of why am I struggling, and him kind of coming to that realization of I'm probably struggling because I'm splitting reps for the first time. I appreciated the honesty, but I do think that it is just his reality right now. He's going to have to make the most of those split reps, just like J.J. McCarthy is going to have to make the most of those split reps until we reach a conclusion, until Kevin O'Connell names his starter, which it feels like it's going to bleed into the summer. It does not feel like that's coming anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, you've done this long enough to be curious, to wonder, and maybe I'm wrong here, but like, I was like 3 days of minicamp. Wow. I mean, like, next level Kyle Shanahan was like, hey, you guys did so well in OTA, specifically with the attendance, no minicamp. Dan Campbell changed what he was doing a little bit in Detroit. Sometimes there's been 1 day or 2 days. So I was thinking, why 3 days? Well, I think the question was answered yesterday. The more reps they can get for these two, and you put Wentz into the equation, a third day probably is required, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the reps as a whole in the aggregate for both guys are important. But yes, when you're splitting reps, the more reps you have at your disposal. So you see it across the league. Some of these guys and some of these teams and head coaches, they have 2 days and good job, we'll cancel the third day. Or like you mentioned, Kyle Shanahan just cancels mandatory minicamp as a whole. That is not an option for the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell because they need this repertoire of reps right now, this bucket of reps to make a conclusion for this quarterback competition between Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, I don't see a third day being canceled here because I was kind of like, okay, oldest trick in the book. Show the kids 3 days, work hard for 2, and you get to leave early. I don't think that's the case.
I would be stunned, and when you look at it, like, this is the first time since Kevin O'Connell's taken over that he's had a true quarterback competition. It was Kirk's job when he got here. It was Sam's job when they drafted JJ. And it was JJ's job last year going up against Sam Howell. So he needs the third day. We need this full, mandatory minicamp period just to continue to build that base of reps for these guys that they are inherently splitting amid this quarterback competition.
McCarthy, and I, fairly just riding discernment without information, I would make Kyler Murray favored to start in the Green Bay Packers game. I wouldn't make him as big a favorite as maybe I would have a month ago, just speculating. McCarthy's not going down without a fight, right?
No, he's not. And I think that is important to note. Like, he has looked improved in this spring in organized team activities. Yesterday in the first day of mandatory minicamp, it would be disingenuous to not acknowledge that he has improved, that there seems to be genuine improvement. But what I would say is this is a passing camp. This is the teaching and learning phase. Yes, you're learning and onboarding if you're Kyler Murray and onboarding if you're new players to this system. And J.J. McCarthy was probably going to always be ahead in terms of what he knew in terms of the offense, the playbook. But the improvements that we're seeing from J.J. McCarthy functionally, throwing the ball, mechanically, like, those look good, and they should look good in a passing camp. It's to your point earlier. The ball should never hit the ground. This is 7-on-7 most of the time, and when they're going to team, it's like 75% speed, walk, jog kind of thing.
Right.
So my point is, I think even if J.J. McCarthy has looked improved right now, I think we will better glean that improvement come training camp and come preseason. And if he does see regular season action, like, when things are live, that's when we'll know how much he's actually improved. But yeah, he's not going down without a fight. He's right there, splitting these first team reps. And I think, like I said yesterday, in a vacuum, I think he was better. I think as a whole, Kyler Murray has shown things that we have not seen from J.J. McCarthy to this point. And when you're looking at the spring in the aggregate. But J.J. McCarthy, there have been high moments for him, and we have to acknowledge that as well.
And in fairness, in fairness to the whole situation, like Dane has laid out nicely, Kevin O'Connell would call it class on the grass. So things like this will happen during minicamp, specifically for newbies. But it's and I'm not, we're not at a 10 with what I'm about to say here. I don't like personally speaking, and O'Connell has to not like this, interceptions where it looks like your guy was sucked into a problem. It was a take the cheese deal. It wasn't some corner or safety making this unbelievably acrobatic play and all the guys go crazy. I mean, at least one of the interceptions, he was just kind of sucked into something that was bad, and the guy knew it was coming that way, and it would have gone the other way for 6. So, I mean, that clearly needs to improve.
Yeah, the glass half full approach would be, well, I'd rather make these mistakes now. But the reality is, right, you do not want to throw interceptions at any point in your time as an NFL quarterback, whether that be in practice or during the games. But if we look back at just kind of the onboarding process in the Kevin O'Connell offense, like Kirk Cousins threw interceptions in the spring and the summer.
Great
Sam
point.
Darnold threw interceptions in the spring and the summer.
Cousins' first training camp against Flores defense, you would have thought he was undrafted from some tiny school.
Exactly. And then Sam Darnold, when he was
good point.
At the night practice, everybody remembers that was the first gink we ever saw, the first Andrew Van Ginkel intercepting a screen pass. But I remember Sam Darnold looks to his right, throws the screen, and Andrew Van Ginkel, before he even knows it, is running the other way. I think the competition aspect of these camps, especially when it's Kevin O'Connell on the offense and Brian Flores on defense, does lend itself to turnovers sometimes. But yeah, I mean, this is now a couple of practice now where Kyler Murray's probably had a few moments that he'd like to have back.
Yep.
And it's something we'll be watching through the rest of mandatory minicamp for sure.
I hope he has some lights out to him today. I just want to see what it looks like. Dane Mizutani, TwinCities.com, and the Pioneer Press covers the Minnesota Vikings and sometimes the Minnesota Wild. And we're going to get into the Wild momentarily, but Carson Wentz. Wentz is the senior to these guys and handles business quite nicely. So just overall, how much better is their quarterback room now, even now, with everything we've talked about compared to last year?
No, it's night and day.
Yeah, I think so too.
Last year at this time, it was J.J. McCarthy, Sam Howell, and Maxx Fuller. This year at this time, it's Kyler Murray, a former number 1 overall pick with nearly 90 starts in the NFL. J.J. McCarthy, a top 10 pick, who some people still think have a rampway to be a franchise quarterback into the future. Carson Wentz with a ton of experience, and still Maxx Fuller, a developmental guy who you're trying to bring along. So you just look at what they have now, the competition that they have in the room, but also the knowledge that they have in the room. Carson Wentz, his value to this room cannot be overstated. I think what he did last year, coming in at the end of training camp, learning quickly on the fly, and then all of a sudden being thrust into action in week 3, performing well enough to win a couple of games, and then obviously going down with the shoulder bit. He did earn a lot of respect in the way he handled himself in the room, but I think he earned a ton of respect in the way he was able to quickly learn this offense and then apply it. Now he's been with the playbook for a full year. He comes back, he re-signs, and I think he re-signs, he's as competitive as anybody. I think in a perfect world for Carson Wentz, he would be the starting quarterback. But I think when he re-signed here, he understood that it was in a mentorship role to some degree. And I think you're seeing that whether you talk to Kyler Murray, whether you talk to J.J. McCarthy, they both reference the importance of Carson Wentz in that quarterback room.
Tell us about undrafted Georgia receiver Dylan Bell. And he just splashed me a little bit yesterday with good size. But what was eye-opening to me, Dane, was he lined up with the first kick team, which I find to be key. It's not a guarantee that you're going to make the team or be on the active roster, but those are sneaky little, the field goal team and stuff like that. And when I saw Dylan Bell out there with Xavier Scott and the rest of these guys who are going to be on the team, I was like, whoa, he's opening somebody's eyes, isn't he?
You can tell you've been around the game for a while that you were able to pick up on that, because when you're looking at just receivers, fringe roster player receivers, wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6, like, yes, it matters if they are contributing on the offensive side of the ball. It matters if they are mixing in with the 2s and the 3s, because then we can start to kind of visualize where they are at in the depth chart. But to visualize and see that he was on the kick coverage team yesterday, or the kick return team, like, this is where he's going to make the team.
Right.
Like, Dylan Bell, he can splash and pop all he wants in training camp, but if he cannot play special teams, he probably will not make the team. So the fact that
he's bigger than I thought.
Yes, the fact that he's already mixing in with certain special teams units while also making plays consistently, that was something that has definitely piqued my interest. But you just watched the guy in practice, and I know I just said the importance of special teams almost supersedes the performance on offense.
Right.
But this kid continues to make plays, and he stood out from the moment he stepped on the grass this spring. And I expect that to continue into the summer.
Dane Mizutani at Dane Mizutani via X, TwinCities.com to find the stories. Some more to discuss, including the edge situation, and to see at this part of the equation who Dane thinks is the leading candidate for the third edge, the one right behind Van Ginkel and Dallas Turner. That was our Steve's Appliances marathon segment. Steve's Appliances has a summer savings sale right now, specifically when you bundle on kitchen or laundry related situations. Fast delivery, free recycling, guaranteed low prices. If you need reliable appliances with guaranteed low prices, stevesappliances.com. Back after this.
You're listening live to Paul.
In with the ones at times. He was a UDFA from Georgia last year. To our point last segment about how Dylan Bell was working with, certain first-team special teams group. Chaz Chambliss has been working with first-team special teams groups. He has a lot of fans in the building. He's a guy who started to come on late. So maybe a guy like a Chaz Chambliss or a Bo Richter could work their way into kind of that next wave of pass rushers off the edge. We've seen Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins working both on the defensive line and with the edge rushers. These are guys that show versatility. But I really think that the number 3 edge rusher is not on the roster right now. I think he's a free agent signing at some point. There are a lot of guys.
Like somebody like Kyle Van Noy?
Yeah, something like that. There are, if you just go look at some of the free agent options, there are players that make sense with the infusion of cap space that the Vikings have now, have under their belt with the June 1st bit rolling around here. So I think that there is a necessity to probably add. I think Dallas Turner and Andrew Van Ginkel will get the first crack, as they deserve. Andrew Van Ginkel, obviously a unicorn on this defense who nobody can replicate. Dallas Turner, who is ready, I think, to take the next step in his career without Jonathan Grenard blocking his path. But if we're relying on a Chaz Chambliss, a Bo Richter, a Tyler Batty, and this is not taking anything away from where those guys have come, or how far they have come, but I think that might be something that feels a bit regrettable. I think that you probably want to go find a shored up guy with experience, and then there are certainly options out there on the free agent market.
Yeah, I throw out the name Kyle Van Noy, who is still available. Like Von Miller's available. So, wow. Holy cow. I wonder what it would take. What it would take for them to get to that spot, and like how the money would mesh with what the demands are of individuals. That's a very interesting take. Dane Mizutani at Dane Mizutani via X, TwinCities.com. You can follow his stories there. Once again, they have a $1 flash sale taking place for a 1-year subscription at TwinCities.com if you want to read Dane's stuff. That's really cool. And this is a story that's available right now. So who are some players not named Kyler Murray or J.J. McCarthy you are keeping an eye on this minicamp?
That was, I feel like I needed to write that for my own sanity, because heading into mandatory minicamp, I knew that we were going to just be talking about this quarterback.
Well, Joey Bosa's available. I mean, now you've just thrown me completely off track. Continue.
Just looking at all the free agent options.
Yeah, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. But I think I needed to write this for my own sanity.
Yeah,
because there, even contrary to what it might feel like, there are 88 other players that participate in mandatory minicamp and will participate in training camp until cutdown day. So I just listed 5. I started with Ty Felton. He was a guy who I thought has stood out throughout the spring. I think some people kind of just wrote him off last year because he couldn't crack the rotation in a receiving room that featured Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, Adam Thielen. Like, duh, he didn't see the field. Right. So I thought watching him, and I've continued to watch him throughout the spring, I think he's a guy who still has a ramp way to produce for the Vikings on offense. So he stood out throughout the spring. We'll watch him more throughout mandatory minicamp and into the summer. And there are other guys like Christian Darrisaw, not necessarily watching him for how he performs, but just watching where he lines up. He has been at times a full participant, which is a good sign for where he's at in his development and working through his knee injury. There were times last year I don't think he fully trusted it, and I think heading into this spring, he does. He's mentioned how he feels really confident in it. Kevin O'Connell has mentioned how he feels really confident and how confident Christian Darrisaw feels in his knee, and that's a good thing because he might be, sneakily the most important part of this offense for the Vikings. If Christian Darrisaw is at 100%, the Vikings offense is at 100%. So there are other names in there too.
What about Golday?
Yeah, he's a guy who I think we have looked at almost as you just look at his measurables, he's like an Andrew Van Ginkel clone. Mm-hmm. You look at what he did at Cincinnati, like the guy played nickel sometimes as a linebacker. He's a guy who I think down the road projects as an Andrew Van Ginkel replacement, if you will. Nobody will fully replace Andrew Van Ginkel and what he's able to do. But he's another guy I've been looking at because where is he lining up? Is he lining up with the edge rushers? I didn't mention Jake Golday in that who is edge rusher 3 because he has been lining up mostly with inside linebackers, off-ball linebackers right now. And I think that makes sense. That's probably the best place to onboard.
But he'd be a 4 there. Yeah. Behind Pace and the starters.
Yeah, I think so, but I think you could make the argument, and he's been working in with the ones at times. It's because Blake Cashman has been off on the side field recovering, but Jake Golday has been working in with the ones at times alongside Eric Wilson, alongside Ivan Pace Jr. So maybe there's a world where Jake Golday has a strong training camp and can pass Ivan Pace Jr. in that pecking order. But the fact that he's working in with inside linebackers right now is notable to me, and that's something I'll continue to watch throughout mandatory minicamp and training camp. Does he mix in with the outside linebackers? Does he mix in with the edges? Or are they just trying to onboard him with inside linebacker stuff right now so not to overwhelm him? And I think that's probably the best way to do it right now for a young kid. How do I get him ready to be on the field? What is the best pathway to him seeing the field? And that's probably at off-ball linebacker for now.
Now, Dane also has a column at the Pioneer Press. I saw it at TwinCities.com. Help us with this for those who missed it and haven't plunked down that $1 for the flash sale. There was a sliding door moment for the Vikings after Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles. They should have tanked. That wasn't an option for the Wilfs. It never has been. It never will be. That's why Nolan Teasley is the perfect man for the job. The job being the new general manager. What goes into that?
Yeah, I think if you look back to when Kirk Cousins went down at Lambeau Field in 2023, there was an opportunity there. We knew the top of the draft was going to feature Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. At that point in October, it was pretty clear it was a 3 quarterback at the top draft. There was an opportunity for the Vikings to just say, you know what? Tough luck. We're 4-4. Let's just pack it in. Let's tank. I have opinions on tanking. I know it's not palatable to a lot of fans, and in a lot of ways, I respect that the Wilfs have never fully leaned into that way of team building because there's 17 games in the NFL schedule. Mm-hmm. These fans deserve to watch a watchable, talented product every time they either pay to get into US Bank Stadium or flip on their televisions, and the the Wilfs have long operated under, we want to give ourselves as many kicks at the can. We don't want to bottom out. We don't want to tank to potentially give ourselves a bigger rampway for success down the road. And that's they're within their right to do that. But if you are going to commit to never truly bottoming out, then you need to find a guy like Nolan Teasley, who has proven that you can win a Super Bowl without doing it. Look at what the Seattle Seahawks did. They won a Super Bowl in 2013. Nolan Teasley was an intern in the front office at that point. They then proceeded to be relevant for the next 13 years. Only once in that time did they have a losing record. And they found a way. They stayed on the periphery. They gave themselves...
Say that last part again. How long with a losing record?
Only once in the 13 years between 2023 and 2026 when they won the two Super Bowls.
Oh, I see.
Did the Seattle Seahawks have a losing record? I think they were 7-10, and it might have been 2019.
Got it.
The point is, if the Wilfs never want to bottom out, if they don't want to tank, they have to find a general manager who has proven not just that they're willing to follow the orders, but that they can win under those parameters. And the Seattle Seahawks did that. They gave themselves kicks at the can. They were relevant. They remained relevant. They made the correct quarterback decisions, when to move off Russell Wilson, when to move off Geno Smith. Good bet on Sam Darnold. And all of that culminated with them winning a Super Bowl last year. I don't think anybody thought heading into last season that the Seattle Seahawks were going to win the Super Bowl. But the point was, they kept themselves relevant. They did not bottom out. They gave themselves a chance.
I like that.
And now it has, obviously, they win the Super Bowl, and they seem to have, kind of an opportunity to have a window here to maybe win another. But Nolan Teasley was a part of that front office that never bottomed out and found a way to go from a Super Bowl champion in 2013 to a Super Bowl champion in 2026 without ever having to tank along the way. And I think that is always what the Wilfs will prefer as a path forward, is find a way to stay relevant, and let's give ourselves as many kicks at the can and hopefully one day raise that Lombardi trophy.
I'm digging it. Before we say goodbye,
let's play hockey!
What do you make of the Wild re-signing fourth line centerman Michael McCarron?
Yeah, I like it because I think it was pretty astute roster management from Bill Guerin. Like, people are going to look at the 6-year contract for a 31-year-old and say, like, what the heck? Why are we giving him so much term? Mm-hmm. That is the only way that you were going to get the money down. I think he's making something like $3.1 million a year. You look at some of the UFAs that are available, some of the centermen that are going to be available in free agency in the NHL, it's slim pickings.
Right.
So this
guy
was
like that last year. I mean, it's getting worse.
Yeah. If you have a center, you don't let him go.
Right.
This guy would have gotten paid well over, well into the 4s. I think maybe even into the 5s.
Wow.
If you let him get there. The only way to get the average annual value down was to give him term. But it's smart because, one, like, your window is now. Who cares about if it's a quote-unquote bad contract in 5 or 6 years? Like, you want to win the Stanley Cup now. You are primed, right, locked and loaded to chase that thing right now. But also, I don't think it's going to be a bad contract in 5 or 6 years because the cap continues to go up in the NHL. So it's the sticker shock of, wow, 6 years for Michael McCarron. I get why that got people. But it's just a smart move, I think, from the Wild, and another smart move from Billy. Well,
McCarron said as Dane just alluded to, that he could have gotten more money elsewhere, had he gone to unrestricted free agency, but chose to stay here because there are several things, but because they are close to getting to the Cup. Do you see it that way?
Yes, I do. I think because they have proven throughout last season, from the time they acquired Quinn Hughes, that they were one of the best teams in the NHL. The playoff system, people are going to lament, they have to play Dallas and then they have to play Colorado. That's true. I wish it was 1 through 8 like most leagues. I don't love the playoff structure in the NHL, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, I think they're close, and this year suggested they were close. And Quinn Hughes, whether he does or does not sign that contract extension this offseason, this summer when he's eligible July 1, he's on the roster next year, and so is Kirill Kaprizov, and so is Matt Boldy, and shoot, if they pull this trade for Dylan Larkin and can somehow bring him in, like this team is talented. It is ready to go right now. I don't think this year was an aberration. I think it was the start of something, perhaps something building into the future. But they're one of the best teams in the NHL this year, and I expect them to be one of the best teams in the NHL moving forward.
That was excellent.
That's unbelievable.
Thank you very much for the time, and I'll see you in Egan later today.
Can't wait.
Dane Mizutani, TwinCities.com, Pioneer Press at Dane Mizutani via X. Maxx Fuller produces 9 to noon today, and Maxwell's Musings are next on KFAN. The sounds of fill-in producer Maxwell Fuller when he gets to eat solid food for the first time in quite some time.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Hey.
I might shed a thug tear, though.
Yeah, Max is producing the radio show today in Nordo's stead. And as we mentioned earlier, in case you missed it, Max has embarked on a new YouTube channel where he goes by the name Young Maxwell, Sanford's other son.
You gotta be paping me!
And it has a Twitter handle behind it. It is at FrobyBryan1_. Hey, that's 2 A's, 2 Y's, 2 E's.
You gotta be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me!
Ooh, Sanford's other son, though.
Brilliant, though. There's somebody out there with that Twitter handle that just got like 500 new followers.
Well, it's no cap is what it is.
No kizzy, though.
By the way, before we do Max's Musings, and we got Senor Spotty, KG, here about 10, 15 minutes from now. I thought of you during the Dane Moore interview about basketball 90 minutes ago when he mentioned he was like, we were talking about the Timberwolves and the players taking the regular season more seriously, having some topic to it for the upcoming season. And he said, I was in New Orleans December 2nd for the Wolves and the Pelicans. And I was just thinking, how sweet is that? I mean, how about for young Maxwell, Sanford's other son? Knowing that you're going to be able to eat solid food here relatively soon. When is that, by the way?
Hopefully, the doctor said they're hopeful on Friday. They didn't promise anything, but they said they're hopeful for Friday.
Well, you're a world traveler. Have you been to New Orleans?
No, I haven't been. I've been to way more countries than I have states, but New Orleans is close to the top of the list when it comes to the United States.
Absolutely love it, whether immersed in controversy or I'm just like taking a little vacation. I love New Orleans, man. I think you'd love it too. But it'd be so cool if when you can eat solid food, if you could get down to New Orleans so you can have what's known as beignets.
Oh, yeah.
From a place called Cafe Du Monde. Mm-hmm. And then like roll over to the shrimp and grits place that's just off Frenchman Street. Bourbon Street has L to it. Frenchman Street's where you want to go. Beignets and shrimp and grits for when you can eat solid food. How great! And grits, technically, you could probably eat that now, right?
I could eat grits now, yeah.
Yeah, with some butter.
Oh yeah, are you a butter guy in grits? Are you a sugar guy in grits? I know some.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Some people, everybody likes it a little different.
Yeah, I like butter. I like some salt and pepper if there's not butter. But I like it with andouille sausage. I like it with grits.
Yeah.
With shrimp. I pretty much like it. Has to be done the right way.
For sure.
You can't find bad grits in the French Quarter, man.
No.
You and I should go to New Orleans together sometime.
I would love that. I've always wanted to go there. Obviously the food, the culture, everything about it. I'm super fascinated with New Orleans. You can't find bad grits in the South, period. My family's from Mississippi, Memphis, Tennessee. Man, let me tell you, they know how to throw down there.
News du Nord or Max's Musings when young Maxwell, Sanford's other son, is in that chair, provided by Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. Live racing resumes tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. $2 specials. Entrance. Admission is $2. Pepsi's, hot dogs, and Budweisers, each $2 each and every Thursday at CBY, CanterburyPark.com for information. Here comes Maxwell.
After erasing a 2-goal lead, the Carolina Hurricanes knotted up the Stanley Cup final 2-2, beating the Golden Knights 5-3 in Game 4 last night. Jordan Staal hit a Superman-esque diving goal. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It's just an amazing play. It couldn't be a more clutch moment late in the third period that gave the Hurricanes the lead for good. His second goal of the night. Going into the series, PA, a lot of people thought goals would be at a premium. The Hurricanes' defense was historic heading into this series. Thus far, 33 combined goals in the Stanley Cup final. It's the third highest in a Cup final all time, and it's only Game 4. The series heads back to Carolina for Game 5 tomorrow night. Puck drop around 7 p.m., and you can hear all the action right here on KFAN.
That whole thing is no cap. I mean, defensively, there's been nothing but sus when it comes to the way the approach to defense has been sus. Jordan Staal and the Aura points that he's a veteran. He's right at the end, man. But for the kids, the Aura points right now for Jordan Staal. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's not that he needs it. That's incredible riz. But you hit on 2 points that with Spotty, with Kevin Gore coming to studio here soon. I'm going to hit on both those points. In fact, Golden Gophers hockey fans or college hockey fans definitely will remember the comparison on Stahl's goal last night. If you didn't see it, he was diving while losing a stick. It was amazing, and it was with 6.5 minutes to go in the game. It won the game. 5-3 final, but that made it 4-3. There will be a comparison made from 20 years ago. Secondly, I'm going to frame it up for Kevin with where is it? The amount of goals and the offense in this series. I mean, it just has caught me off guard because Vegas can play defense. Carolina's defense, like you said, was historic. So I pulled this from Rod Brindamore, coach of the Canes. After the game last night, watching back his press conference this morning, he's surprised too. So very good take, man.
Appreciate you. The Spurs will look to follow the Hurricanes' lead and tie their series with the Knicks up at 2-2 as the two teams meet tonight in the Garden. Victor Wembanyama led the way for San Antonio with 32 points in Game 3. I don't think anybody really expected this to happen, but Wemby will not receive an upgraded flagrant foul for his shove of Jalen Brunson early in the game in Game 3. Grand Theft Alvarado, Jose Alvarado said after the game, quote, he got away with one, but that'll be the last one. It's been a metaphorical heavyweight bout in these 3 games. Could turn into a literal one tonight at 7:30 in NYC.
I thought Stephon Castle. Now, when he ran through Brunson, it reminded me of Adrian Peterson, 2009 Heinz Field, running through William Gay, center of the field. Don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah, it's legendary.
Right. But Castle, I mean, okay, I'm not offended. It wasn't a flagrant. It was a common offensive foul. But, yeah, man, there was a modus operandi that started in Game 2, was high key in Game 3. This little guard here with the braids who can shoot and his dad's on the side, we got to beat him up.
Yeah.
And that because they're really, really getting physical with Jalen Brunson. And they're making him play defense, too, and fight through a bunch of picks, specifically in the key. And the modus operandi has to be, we got to beat the little guy down because it's going to impact his game in the fourth quarter. Now, they got a little too physical in Game 3, and I don't really know if there's anybody on the San Antonio Spurs, that includes coaches and players, who wants to mess with Jalen's dad, Rick, who's an assistant coach for the New York Knicks. I mean, he looked at De'Aaron Fox at one point in Game 2 or 3, where De'Aaron barked at him, and Rick was like, you're not tough. You could read his lips. You're not tough. Everybody knows it. You're not tough. And then he had to be, like, pulled away. Rick Brunson, man, that's, jeez.
Yeah, and to your point, P.A., I believe the Spurs had 22 free throws in the second half. It got real physical in that second half, and that's kind of been their modus operandi, out-hustle and out-muscling folks. They may have met their match with the New York Knicks, who've been out-hustling and out-muscling them thus far.
Free throws third quarter, 14-3 San Antonio. Mike Brown took umbrage, coach of the Knicks, with that after the game. Karl Anthony Towns was like, well, I mean, love my coach, but that ain't why we lost. We kept turning the ball over at the worst time. And And we didn't, what got us 13 in a row, we weren't doing. So we'll be back at us tonight.
Hell yeah. There's been a lot of speculation about J.J. McCarthy's future in Minnesota, most of it reckless speculation, I would say. He was asked by reporters yesterday about a possible trade, and McCarthy said, quote, "I think I made it very clear I wanted to be here before I got here, and I love this organization. I love the coaching staff. I absolutely love these players, and this is where I want to be," end quote.
Yeah, he's when he described what it was like working with Kyler Murray, and you got him on one side of the classroom, I'm on the other. It's up to the coaches to teach us and things like that. I like how you put it when you filled in for Nordo, and I brought that up, where you basically felt that his quote was Delulu.
I always love that one.
And that he lacked Riz.
I always love that one.
And the whole 9-bit after Ford Field is antithetical to Aura points.
I always love that one.
I'm just wondering with McCarthy if he's a Sigma. Is he a Sigma? A versatile, independent, self-reliant person who stands outside normal social hierarchies. Sigma, is that one popular with the kids?
That one, I feel like it's waning with the kids a little bit. That one's waning with the kids a little bit.
It's going the wayside, kind of like Psych.
Yeah, it's a little cooked, as the kids say. It's cooked right now.
I got it.
It's a little mid.
It's sus. Anything else?
You just talked about it with Dane. A Wild re-signed Michael McCarron to a 6-year, $20 million deal. He skated all 11 games for the Wild during the Stanley Cup playoffs, notching 4 points, 14 shots on goal, and I believe he led the team with 14 blocked shots.
Damn. We will get into that and Dylan Larkin-related speculation, some golden tempo conversation, and a lot more of that with Kevin Gorg when he joins us in studio. Anything else?
I do have a little interesting nugget that I stumbled upon. Let me find it real quick. PA.
No cap.
There's 5 NFL teams this year that, after playing an international game, their next opponent will be coming off of a bye, including the Minnesota Vikings. Teams are winless in this situation in the previous 20 years or so.
I'm going to take what you said deep, and I keep getting told that I'm wrong with this. Okay, maybe I am. Playing in Mexico is not an international game.
I agree.
It's part of North America, and it's in the same time zone. So I don't look at it as an international game. And you know what? I bet you I'm right with this if we can get the right people at the NFL offices to open veins. Because after you play overseas, and then the next year, we'll acquiesce. Send us to Ireland, and then send us to Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah, we really look forward to being in Ireland and England for a week and change. Most people would, but I mean, this, you got to win these games too. And in those games, they went 1-1, lost in Dublin, and they won in England. But I just can't see the NFL. There not being a handshake here like, dog, get us on this. You're a popular worldly item. You know that, and we know that. And then we'll lay off an international game for a year or two. I'm not saying that took place, but stuff like that does take place. So for them to be playing the 49ers in Mexico City, I just would be shocked if you got the commissioner, if anybody ever asked him to tell the truth about it and be like, well, that's not considered an international game. But when the NFL puts its international helmets and logos and everything, Vikings and Niners are in there. I just don't see Mexico City as per se a quote international end quote game,
No, I totally understand what you're saying. It's a night and day difference between going to Ireland and England.
You think it's not? Anything else?
That's all I got for you.
That's young Maxwell, Sanford's other son. Once again, if you'd like to follow him via Twitter, it is at Froby1_. Hey,
Froda, though.
From the state of Minnesota.
I always love that one.
Love that. Kevin Gorg, Gorgomatic, Wild, and more around the corner. KFAN.
You're listening live.